At the centre of Scotland's largest city lies its beating heart. Glasgow Central is the transport hub that connects communities near and far. But for months, lockdown has left the country and the station at a standstill. Now Central staff must take on the challenges of getting the whole nation moving.
This will be interesting.
Any problems we come across, we've got to solve ourselves.
This is what makes this place electric. Brilliant to work in.
They need to open up, welcome back the crowds,
Number 13, guys.
Have your tickets ready, guys?
and cope with everything that a packed station,
Very, very, very busy.
demanding passengers,
Guys, can you just put your mask on? Put your mask on for me, thank you.
and new challenges can throw at them.
We've found a problem with the high voltage cable.
That's going to have to be replaced.
This roller coaster just doesn't stop, does it?
Their mission? To keep the recovery on the rails
I'm staying in Central, so I'm so happy. A job well done.
and make sure everyone reaches their destination safely. Central Station may be 140 years old, but throughout its long history, it's always adapted to modern times.
The building, the shell of Central, has never changed. That's been a constant from the 1st August 1879 through until today. But the inside has changed, as well as the inside of the city has changed through the decades. But effectively, Central will be the one constant in Glasgow, hopefully forevermore.
It's important that our stations and our services keep up with modern times and we adapt to change, greener, more sustainable travel, new technology. These are all new developments that we're working towards.
In the last decade, almost £10 billion have been invested in modernising Scotland's railways, with over 325 kilometres of the network recently electrified in the Central Belt alone. Today, the teams in Central are taking on the challenge of bringing rail services into the modern age, with plans to fully decarbonise passenger services in less than 15 years.
Modernising, keeping things up to date while we still have our daily services running and keeping everything ticking over. It's a big challenge, but I hope it's one that we'll rise to.
Return to sender.
One staff member who always keeps things fresh for passengers on the concourse is train dispatcher Baby Jane.
No such song.
Today, she's showing off a very personal update, a new tattoo.
I love Monroe. Look, see, that's one of Monroe tattoos. I've got Jessica Rabbit there, and this is the latest tattoo, a pair of lips. So see when these lips go redundant, these lips take over. I've just got one of these faces. It's a thrill. It is amazing. I just need to go out and say, you're the lady from the telly. But at the end of the day, if I can keep the passengers happy, they can get home at night, work during the day, then that's half the battle, isn't it? There you go.
Baby Jane is a long-standing and well-loved part of the station team. But today, a much newer member of staff is preparing to take on a fresh challenge. Avanti train manager Stephen has worked for Central for just 18 months, helping passengers on the busy West Coast Mainline.
It is a customer service role, so you're basically making someone's journey, and that's the whole thing. It's like basically having an experience with them as well. You get to know a lot of people, we get a lot of regulars, but they're a bit like a book, you know, you see parts of them one day, and then you kind of end that chapter, and then you wait to another chapter, so you kind of get to know them a little bit better. The book never ends, that's the thing. It's always just like a case, it just goes on and on.
Today, Stephen's part of a record-breaking attempt that might just spell the start of a speedy new chapter for the West Coast Line.
Today is a really exciting day. Today we are looking for Avanti West Coast to break the speed record from London Euston up to Glasgow Central. I'm one of the train managers today, along with James and Brad, who'll be looking after everybody on board as well. So really privileged to be part of it, really excited, everyone's up for the challenge and pretty sure we're going to beat it. Absolutely confident we'll smash the record.
The team hope that breaking the record will shine a new light on West Coast Mainline services. The current London to Glasgow non-stop speed record of 3 hours, 52 minutes and 40 seconds was set by a British rail train in 1984. And the whole team are pulling together to try and better it. At Central, they're putting out the welcome banners for the train's arrival.
We've been preparing with some Avanti welcome for them coming back in, so quite an exciting day in the station altogether.
Meanwhile, at London Euston, the team who'll be on the train are preparing to depart. Today's driver, Neil, has over 20 years' experience and is up for the challenge.
When I was asked if I would like to do it, yeah, I jumped at the chance, absolutely. We need to show that we can have fast, efficient links between the two cities. Speedometer, very important for the day.
Invited special guests, train enthusiasts and crew members are getting ready to board the non-stop train. And the Euston dispatch team are pulling out the stops to get it off to a good start.
We do believe we will be breaking the record today. The safety procedure is to make sure everyone is on the train. We have a clear corridor, we have an off signal, and we shall be dispatching as safely as we can and on time.
Being a part of this is like really nice.
Hopefully we can break the record today, and it'll be a big achievement for all of us and for everyone on the railways.
And they're off. Stephen is looking after all the passengers and staff as they race north against the clock.
Hello, Stephen. You want to something to eat, sweetheart?
Don't ask me, everyone else is more important. I'm fine, I'm just saying hello.
You need to eat, Stephen.
I will, it's fine, don't worry. Stop, you're like, you're worse than my mum.
I know, I'm
No, you are my mum, you're my railway mum.
The train's on its way. And 400 miles from Euston, Control Centre Manager Carl is monitoring the train's progress from the West of Scotland Signalling Centre in Glasgow.
It is tense, and when you have got a record which has stood since 1984 under British Rail, even just, slowing down a little bit to glance and see what's happening on the opposite line, we just need to keep the driver focused.
It's Carl's job to help keep the line ahead of the train clear and unobstructed.
We need to keep giving them greens and give them the most clear run as possible through the country.
Any red lights or incidents on the line risk slowing the train's progress. So Carl's role is critical for today's speed record attempt to succeed.
This train was already doing 125 miles an hour as it got through Wembley, which is pretty good, and it has green signals all the way as far as Milton Keynes currently. Every second counts.
Back on board the train, there's one more essential team member, retired railwayman John.
I'm the official timekeeper today on this run to judge whether or not the record is broken from Euston to Glasgow. I take the starting time, the finishing time, obviously, but a log-on route of the times and speeds at signal boxes, stations, junctions, etc. We're just past Nuneaton at 123 miles an hour and a couple of minutes ahead of the advanced passenger train back in 1984, which holds the current record for non-stop runs Euston to Glasgow.
They only need to shave a single second off the record for success. An hour into the journey and they're 2 minutes ahead. But that advantage could easily be lost over the next 300 miles. So, railway staff are poised along the route to deal with any problems that arise.
We've got specific response staff out today, extra than usual, to support the train's route. We've got a couple of people stationed at well-known level crossings, and I've also got colleagues from Motherwell Delivery Unit who have based themselves at specific points to make sure that this train gets the best possible run. I want people to be able to respond quickly and sharply and give this train a chance of getting to Glasgow early.
Please to announce we've just passed through Stafford. We are running on time at 11:46. Crew, our next station call at 15 minutes.
For me, it will be a product of what the railway can do when it works together. And that's one of the reasons why I work here. That's one of the reasons why I love my work. I love the people I work with. It doesn't mean to say that you don't have challenges, but the railway's sometimes not very good at showing itself off and really, displaying the great virtues of this industry. For me, today, I will be absolutely buzzing if this makes it on time.
But now there's a potential problem on the line.
We've had what's called a circuit breaker operation at Norton Bridge on the Upfast, and part of the electrification wiring has wrapped itself around a unit. All the services are having to take another line to get round it. It is heading in the opposite direction, but sometimes disruption bleeds through, and we're just trying to make sure that that train gets a fast run through that site, because every second counts.
The route between London Euston and Central has been electrified for almost 50 years. But some local services are still being modernised.
We've seen great changes in the rail industry. The plan is to phase out diesel services so the railway is more green and carbon neutral.
Scotland's railways are moving away from fossil fuels and electrifying more of the network as part of a target to decarbonise passenger services by 2035.
It's very important to achieve the transition, to decarbonise the railway. We've got a date, and there's a target date that we need to aim to meet. But I think just for the environment and for the world, it's very important as well.
One of the busiest commuter routes that runs from Central travels towards the southwest of the city, and it's set to be converted from diesel to electric operation. At Kennishead Station, project manager Michael is leading the task of erecting the metal framework essential for the electrification of the line.
Electrification is sort of the act of hanging wires that then provide electricity for the trains. So the whole idea is that this steelwork is purely to hang the wires off.
But today, electrical storms are forecast and could threaten completion of the job.
The main issue that we've got today is going to be probably the weather. We're expecting thunderstorms a bit later, so if that happens, we're going to have to stop, as we will be erecting this effectively tall metal objects that reach into the sky, and then obviously there's the time pressures. So we've got a set amount of time, effectively 6 hours, between when the team arrives on site and when the shift finishes to install all of this.
There are no trains running on the line today, giving senior project engineer Andy a window of opportunity to finish the work.
The key challenge of any work in the railway is time. In normal circumstances, the work you're seeing behind us would actually be happening in the middle of the night. Obviously, it brings its own risks working at night rather than day, so we're lucky at the minute that we've got the ability to do these during the day.
Despite the challenging weather, the team needs to erect 2 of these precision-engineered steel structures before the end of the day.
It's a big mechanical set that needs to fit together, so everything needs to be measured and checked to ensure it all fits together on the day when you're actually installing it. If it's a few millimetres out, then obviously a new bit would need to be fabricated to the right size. This is one of the few operations, this type of structure, where you've got men at height working. They're currently checking the torque and the bolts. Everything needs a specific torque in terms of the steelwork. And on to the next structure.
Now they need to secure the top of the structure, but heavy rain is hampering the work, and the basket crane is struggling to take the team up to the correct height.
Oh my God. The machine is beginning to struggle. It seems to be doing okay in some conditions, but I think it might have a fault.
With the clock ticking, the moment is approaching when the team must clear the tracks, whether the job is finished or not.
It's always a bit tense when this kind of thing happens, because you don't want to have that crane trapped with no way to get up there to undo it. So the guys are just trying to release the straps so we can get at least the crane away and then fix this ready to do the finish bolting up of the knee brace.
But with minutes to spare, the team can complete the work just in time.
As you can see, the machine seems to be operating okay now, just keeping us on our toes. So like they said, it's not over till the fat lady sings. So, tested by the weather, but all in all, the team's pulled through, worked hard, and now I think it's time to go home, have a good rest, and get ready to do it all again next weekend.
Public transport services must modernise in changing times or risk leaving their passengers behind. Central Station has always been at the heart of Glasgow's transport network. 80 years ago, many of Glasgow's 30 tram routes passed by the station, reaching out across the city in every direction. But by 1962, there was high demand to make room for more cars and buses on the city's busy streets. When the very last electric tram stopped running, it was the end of an era for Central.
Trams across the city were able to connect with other forms of transport by basically having their lines past them. So Glasgow Central, Glasgow Queen Street, and also two other stations that are no longer with us, St. Enoch and Glasgow Buchanan Street, were all next to major tram lines where various routes came together. So if you did live out in Mount Florida or in Partick and you needed to get to Central, you could hop on one of these trams, get to your railway station, and then head off to London or other parts wherever you needed to go.
When Glasgow called time on the well-loved tram service, they marked the occasion with an historic procession through the city. Today, tour guide Paul is meeting his father-in-law Joe near Central's Hielanman's Umbrella, where he was one of an estimated 250,000 people who came out on the 4th of September 1962 to say goodbye to the trams.
What can you remember that day? Where were you in this street?
In this street, I was along there, where the cream wall is of the Arnott store.
And how did the procession go?
From the distance, it came all the way along that street and straight past us, going at a snail's pace because there was a horse tram in front.
Right.
And they two horses weren't too happy about chugging all the way from Dalmarnock, right? So by the time it came here and the rain came on, everybody was soaked, but they weren't caring. And they went under the Central Bridge.
Under the Hielanman's Umbrella?
Yes, under it. So the whole thing disappeared from view. But it was 20 trams long. An awful lot of them had grown up with the trams. And they travelled on them as youngsters. And there was a massive nostalgia kick. It was the beating heart of the city. And the Central Station's part of it.
Yep, without a doubt. Joe, I understand that when the famous procession was coming along here, that it was tradition to put a penny on the rails itself to get the imprint.
Yes.
And you've got one of the very pennies.
I have one, hey presto.
Fantastic. That's a great memento to have for that time, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And was there many people done that?
Oh, a lot of people were doing that.
Was there?
Yeah. A lot of people were doing
that.
it.
So that'd be right along the street there?
Aye. All the way, it was mostly kids that was doing it. Only stupid me was on the bridge.
But Glasgow's trams are not just a memory. Paul's decided to treat Joe to a very special day out. 11 miles away in Coatbridge, Summerlee Museum keeps Scotland's industrial heritage alive. Here, they're actively preserving some of the old trams that left the streets nearly 60 years ago.
Here we go.
Hear the noises.
This must be a trip down memory lane for you then.
It certainly will be,
especially with the sounds and...
Oh, there you go. Give it a round of applause.
Time to experience a bit of the magic of the old trams.
After you, sir.
Age and all that, you know. Wait till you feel and hear this when it's running. They are, in a way, quite crude. But nevertheless, that's what was...
I take it any discussions amongst families and people sitting on trams, it must have had to be hell but loud.
We're all shouting at one another.
I'm not surprised.
Hey, Ma, did you bring the sandwiches? Because we're going to Rookin Glen.
I think I need to wear ear defenders if I was going on one.
the wheels grinding against the rails, steel on steel.
Well, trains are a hell of a lot quieter. This seems to be an extension to Central and the other major stations as well.
Because if you come up in a train from, say, London or even the suburbs, you get off the train, out the door, there'll be a tram for where you want to go. The crossroads that the Central Station's at, almost every tram service passed it by. East, west, north, south. You know?
Right, you need to pay the fare for this now.
Oh, for... Right, there you go. How's that?
You could reenact that time you get hit by the tram if you want.
Well, OK, right.
Want to lie down in front?
It happened like this, Paul.
Right, show us.
But before they head home, there's just one thing Joe wants to check.
Right, Paul.
Right, show us the penny.
There's the penny. Have a look at it. You won't be able to get the date. You can fit it on the wheel.
Let's see. Oh, aye.
And that's how it got it.
That's brilliant.
Almost 1,000 services pull in and out of Central every day. And the hard-working fleets of trains have to be maintained to the highest standards. A couple of miles down the tracks from the station sits Shields Rail Depot. Central depends upon the dedicated team here to keep every electric train in its fleets in top working order.
Shields Depot is the only depot in Scotland under ScotRail that maintain those trains.
At any moment, an army of engineers and mechanics are working behind the scenes to keep the trains on track and the network running smoothly. Engineering manager Willie has worked on the railway since he was 16 years old.
Most of our fleet run in the Central Belt, from Glasgow Central out to Ayr, from Queen Street to Edinburgh, through Stirling and all that. At Shields we have 133 trains over several fleets, so roughly on average a week we would see about 40 of the trains.
One of the most important jobs Willie leads at Shields Depot is the regular servicing of the fleet.
Every so many thousand miles, depends what fleet it is, the train comes out of traffic, goes into the depot and gets what we call an exam.
Every day, the depot has a train coming in for the equivalent of its MOT exam. Then they must race against the clock to get it out again on schedule. Andrew is an A1 skilled engineer who's been working in the depot for 12 years.
Every exam's slightly different, but all the basics get done every exam. Your main things like brake pads, your pantograph, your bogies, insides. Part of the exam, you'll be checking this whole brake rigging and this wheel. You know, this is the auto coupler, one of the most important things on the train. We have to maintain this. This will couple the two trains together.
1 out of every 30 trains fails their test. And Andy has just heard of a potentially hazardous fault on the roof of train 380-119.
So unfortunately, on the exam, they've found a problem with the high voltage cable on the pantograph.
Crucially, the pantograph draws the electric current from the live overhead line to power the train below.
Yeah, that's the protective cover over the HD cable. That's going to have to be replaced.
With 25,000 volts carried in the overhead power lines, any pantograph damage has to be dealt with as soon as it's identified.
This won't go out tonight, just because it's not a common fault and it's going to take us a wee bit of time just to find the part. It's not a quick fix. So
All right.
We can fix right away, so the unit will be stopped and repaired maybe tonight or tomorrow.
OK, so it's not going to make the service.
The damaged part must be replaced before the train can run again.
The damage is such that we can't run this train in service. So now we have to go to stores to source a replacement part for this unit and get it back into service as soon as possible. Probably about 24 to 36 hours. Have you got the part for the repair for Unit 19, roof bush?
If the part isn't on site, it could take a few days to source it, leaving the whole train out of service until then and risking delays on the network.
What we had was sort of like a repair kit. It wasn't fully stock coded, so you've got like that part there, but the parts I think was Is it that one? Yeah. With the tram.
So the HV cable is covered with this insulator. This part is damaged on the roof, but unfortunately the whole cable has to be removed and this part needs to be replaced.
What we do have is the HV cable is a full assembly, and we've not stock coded here, but it's using one of the other fleets, and we've got one coming up tomorrow.
It's a small miracle that stores can get the replacement part in for tomorrow, and a relief for the whole team.
We'll have to fight another day. Right, cheers, John.
They now have a fighting chance of getting the train back in service in the next 24 hours.
The trains aren't any good sitting in the depot. It's our job to make sure we spend as little time as possible in the depot.
You have to juggle, you have to swap things about, you have to change plans at the last minute to try and make sure that you reach your targets.
Back on the West Coast Mainline, Avanti's speed record-breaking attempt is still underway. An hour into the non-stop journey from Euston to Central, a problem on the opposite line is threatening their progress. At the signalling centre in Glasgow, Control Centre Manager Carl is monitoring the situation closely.
People have arrived on site at Norton Bridge and have given the downline direction the all clear, which is really good news for us because that means that the train will be able to go past.
One close call averted, but as they approach Crewe, Carl's signalling team must get the train through one of the major junctions on the line.
I'm just going to watch Crewe station and the signallers who look after Crewe get this train through expertly, and the train will be then heading on its way up through Warrington, Wigan, Preston, Lancaster, Oxenholme, the Lake District, Penrith, and on towards Carlisle, and then Scotland.
At Crewe, the APT, the very train that set the speed record in 1984, is spotted by the tracks.
APT on the left, if you want to take a picture of the APT.
APT on the left?
Just going through Crewe.
It's 12:36 and Stephen's come to find out from John, the official timekeeper, if the record attempt is on track.
I lost him.
Just going to get a quick update on the times from through Preston
well.
and that.
Yeah, very well. We're bang on time at Preston and 10 minutes up on the APT.
So bang on time.
Yeah, everything's looking frozen.
That sounds brilliant.
So you never know.
You've been there before, that's the thing, isn't it?
Happen in the next half hour, as they say.
Good afternoon, folks. Speaking to John, our official time, we'll pass through pretty much bang on time there, and actually 10 minutes ahead of the APT.
And there's another occasion making this a red-letter day on the train.
Train manager that dispatched at Euston on the way to Glasgow is James. It is his birthday as well. He has kept that quiet, as a couple of people know as well. So as he passes through, you're welcome to congratulate him. Hey! Hey, happy birthday, sir. You are welcome. How you doing, guys?
Yeah, good, thanks.
It's my birthday, yeah, you can't just go by and just say, yes, it is his birthday.
Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to James. Happy birthday to you. Hey!
When the train gets to Scotland, it's Carl's job to ensure it gets a clear run.
When the train will arrive here, it will come as 1 Zulu 57. That is when it will appear onto Scottish territory, and it will be our job to make sure that it goes through problem-free all up the north section of the West Coast Mainline, through Lockerbie, through Carstairs, through Motherwell, all the way into Glasgow. And as far as I'm concerned, it needs green signals all the way.
How are we doing for time?
Last we knew we were spot on. They've got a tiniest window to look out on the left here, so they never see where we are.
With less than 90 minutes to go before they hope to arrive in Glasgow, everyone wants to know whether the train is on target to beat the record.
Yeah, still on time?
Yes, we are. We did have a check. We were bang on, I think. So through Penrith, it looked spot on. But we're going to go and speak to John.
Feeling a little bit tense, if I'm honest, but we've got some moves which are already planned. So we are going to overtake a freight service, which is already in position at Beatuk, so that's good.
But speed restrictions at some of the junctions are slowing the train to a snail's pace.
It's just a 20 mile an hour limit. It just feels slower than 20 after going so fast.
They've got 62 minutes and 30 seconds to get to Glasgow in time.
You'll see the England border sign, it's got the rose in it, and then the Scotland signs on the left. I'll not see that one, but it shows you when we've crossed the border. Straight through, it's crazy. It feels odd not stopping anywhere.
1 Zulu 57, it's arrived on the screen. That crossing is now cleared, ready to go. The road traffic will be sat with the barriers down and the red light flashing. This is actually quite exciting.
I think today's important to prove to people that, you know, we can do things that other people can't do, but more important, to show that we're still open for business. And as we come out of this pandemic, there is no better way to travel than on the railways.
It's now 13:32. The train's just going across Cove Level Crossing. If it's on time, it should be pulling into Central at 14:29, so 57 minutes. But I'm hoping they're quicker than that.
And I know people sometimes say the trains can be late. Well, I guess we're proving today the trains can also be early. There's always been a magic about the railways. I guess it's knowing that you're going somewhere, you know, that anticipation.
The train has now got less than half an hour to reach Glasgow and break the record. On Central's Platform 1, the Avanti staff are nervously watching every mile of the train's progress.
Oh, they're just passing Carstairs just now, which is a challenge for us because there has been a 50 mile an hour speed restriction in that area with some work. That was taken into account when planning the journey, but so it's not far off. Carstairs is about 25 minutes from here normally. So we're pushing it.
Right, OK, so you think we've got 30 seconds back? OK.
Now, with just 15 minutes to go, it's going to be a very close call.
We're all a bit anxious that it is going to make it, but excited and hopeful that it will. So we're all kind of gearing up for it now.
People on the train, I imagine they're probably getting a bit twitchy. The train is well and truly into the heart of the Scottish West Coast Mainline. It's getting tense.
In honour of its valiant record attempt earlier today, this train was renamed after one of the most famous trains of all time, the legendary Royal Scot. 94 years ago, Central's Platform 1 was eagerly awaiting the first arrival of the original Royal Scot train. It was the first in a new breed of steam locomotives built by London Midland for their fastest passenger services between London Euston and Glasgow Central.
About 400 people travel every day on this famous train, and millions must have made the journey since it started. At 10 o'clock, the hour for right away lights up over the off. The Royal Scot pulls out on the start of its 400-mile journey.
Loved for its luxury as well as its speed, the Royal Scot soon became world famous and served on the railways for decades to come.
Its last journey came into Central Station in 1962. The name, the Royal Scot, was then transferred across to a Mark III service which ran into Central up until 2003. I clearly remember the day they made its final journey into Central, into platform number 1. You look at trains now, I think the general populace thinks that all trains all look the same, and to a certain extent they do. But if we go back to the golden age of steam, there's a romance there, particularly from the 1920s onwards. If you paid a couple extra pounds at the time, you could travel in opulence that ordinary folk were never used to at the time. So that romance kind of stuck in the steam age.
Pulling into the Central Station dead on time, the Royal Scot receives her traditional welcome, for she is, of course, the first train to arrive in Glasgow from London every day.
Many famous passengers travelled on the Royal Scot into Central Station throughout the years. None more so than the famous, world famous, Charlie Chaplin and Laurel and Hardy. Laurel and Hardy arrived in platform number 1 on 3 different occasions. One of the most famous was 1933. The papers at the time said there was 15,000 people standing inside and outside of Central Station, all whistling the Laurel and Hardy theme tune.
Station legend has it that something funny happened next.
When the doors opened of the Royal Scot, Laurel and Hardy stepped forward to come off the train. The crowd surged forward. This wee boy jumped to the front of the queue and caught Oliver Hardy's eye as he was just about to step down off the train. The wee boy shouted to him, he says, "Ollie, Ollie, will you shake my hand?" Oliver Hardy grabbed the child's hand, and just in an instant, just like that, the young boy slipped Oliver Hardy's 15 guinea watch off his wrist, stuck it in his pocket, ran right down the concourse, out to Gordon Street, and was lost in the mist of time. Oliver Hardy said he would go to his grave hating Glaswegians forevermore for the theft of his 15 guinea watch. And that's one of the stories of the Royal Scots, one of the most famous trains in railway history.
From the romance of steam to the new age of electrification, Central is always moving forward. Every day brings new challenges for the station. And ScotRail's general manager, Kat, has ultimate responsibility for keeping everything running as smoothly as possible. Kat took up the post at Scotland's busiest station 3 years ago, but she didn't always work at Central.
I started my career in Queen Street, so it was like leaving home when I left there and I moved over to Central. Maggie, who's the manager at Queen Street, we've worked together probably throughout my career anyway, so it's a brilliant relationship, but there's a real bit of healthy competition, I'm going to call it.
The 3 busiest stations in Scotland, Central and Queen Street in Glasgow and Waverley in Edinburgh, all share some healthy station rivalry.
We love to wind each other up. We really do love to wind each other up and have a bit of banter about who's the best. And we're the best.
The 3 stations' ScotRail general managers, Kat in Central, Pamela in Waverley and Maggie in Queen Street, have become friends while working together.
Pamela, Kat and myself were all promoted at the same time. We're all in charge of the 3 major stations in Scotland, so it makes you quite proud.
Kat always says that Central's the #1 station, and it is busier. It just seems to be a lot more happens through there, but Edinburgh is the capital, so I'm sorry, it just trumps it for me, I'm afraid. Edinburgh's more beautiful than Glasgow, so.
So I've got a group with Pamela and Kat, and it's called Queen Street #1 station. I've just messaged them saying, can't wait till you see the #1 station. Pamela's replied already, saying, right, it's not the bricks and mortar that make a station, it's the quality inside it.
Queen Street's bricks and mortar have recently undergone a £120 million refurbishment. A huge modernisation project which has disrupted normal business for years, but is shortly due to complete.
It was a tough time. We've knocked this whole station down and rebuilt it, so we've extended the platforms as well so that we could run 8-car electrical trains. We redeveloped the tunnel as well, the electrification of the E&G line. So it was a whole project. That's my favourite part. They're the original columns, yes, but they were only grey and blue. So because of the gold roof, we decided to put a bit of gold in the columns, and you'll see them going right up the platform. They're absolutely beautiful. Station's fit for a queen.
Kat, Pamela and Maggie are in regular contact, but this is the first time they've met up in person in a year, and Maggie's keen to show off her station's new look.
Welcome to my world.
It's been given a grand tour.
Gorgeous.
Do you know, it pains me to say it, but it's looking gorgeous. Do you want to go up then? And I've got us some treats as well, seeing as we're having a girlies' work day out. No alcohol, I'm afraid.
Queen Street's radical facelift has impressed, but will these 3 ever settle the question of whose station comes out on top?
Best station in the UK? Listen, there's a difference between the busiest station and the best station. And you need to get that in your head.
There is a difference, Maggie. We don't need pats in the backs to be the best.
Who's #1?
Right, I think we need to agree this. We're not lying to MD. I think the #1 station in Scotland
Glasgow
is definitely
Central.
Glasgow Queen Street. And I don't care what any of you say.
I think we've all got things that are good.
Yes. Pains me to say it, but none of us are the best. We're all the best.
I disagree. Queen Street's
I was
the best.
trying to just end it.
This new generation of managers are overseeing huge changes at Scotland's 3 biggest and busiest stations, including the ongoing electrification rollout across the network. This latest modernisation is necessary for the sustainability of Scotland's railways, but it brings hazardous live electricity to railway lines. So it's vitally important to educate the public about the dangers. Alan from Network Rail has been working closely with the Scottish Football Association on an innovative programme to teach children about safety near rail tracks.
As we enhance the railway line, we also increase the risk. So it's important to us to get out into the communities and deliver our rail safety talks, deliver our rail safety programmes and get the message spread as far and wide as possible. How you doing?
Hi Alan, all right, how are you?
I'm well, mate. Yourself?
Aye, pretty good, pretty good.
Good stuff.
Aye.
Good stuff.
Good setup down here, eh?
Aye, what's happening here then?
So this is Dean Thistle Community Football Club, so they're one of our clubs in the southwest region.
It's my first visit to one of these sessions, just to observe really that the kids are interacting, having fun, but specifically to see that the railway messages are getting across and they're being understood by the young people who are participating today.
With this particular programme, you can see the kids all branded up with the Network Rail bibs, where they've got the key messages on the back there about how long it takes a train to stop, you know, how close you need to be to get an electric shock and stuff like that, and try and sort of drip feed the information across different weeks.
Can somebody read out the message that's on Caleb Stop, please?
Trespass on the tracks has risen by up to 55% during the pandemic, clocking up almost 2,000 separate incidents, any one of which could have had serious consequences. So it has never been more necessary to get the message across.
Do we know what that means? No? Train's heading towards you, it sees you late, it won't be able to stop. Do we all know the danger of being on a railway line?
Yeah.
Should you go on a railway line?
No.
At any time?
Never.
If you were sitting these kids down and trying to teach them rail safety, I don't think they would take a blind bit of notice. The fact that they're playing at football and it's involved in their sessions makes a big difference. You know, if you're near a railway line playing at football and you kick your ball on, what's the worst thing you could do? Go and get the ball, yes.
Along with the kickabout and the fun, the serious message is also getting through.
You don't go on the tracks because then you get run over.
So it's important that we read the messages on the back of the bibs.
Almost 45,000 kids have participated in this programme since 2018, so the scheme has a real chance of saving lives.
Would you go on a train line? Electricity can jump and if it hits you, can kill you, correct, well done.
Kids getting lots of physical activity, playing with smiles on their faces. I felt the kids were learning a lot about rail safety and also they understood it. Hopefully they'll take that with them. You know, they'll tell their peers, they'll tell their parents, and it's a great benefit.
It's 2:15 p.m. on the very final leg of today's speed record attempt. But after the speed restriction at Carstairs, the train is now 80 seconds behind its target arrival time. As they approach the city, a lot more could go wrong.
The railway comes from being a two-track section of railway. As we approach the thronging metropolis of Central Station, the tracks go to 5. It just becomes busier. Here's 1 Zulu 57. It's cleared Motherwell. It's now approaching Uddingston. This is going to come down to seconds. This is coming down to your man with a stopwatch.
John, the timekeeper, is not taking anything for granted.
Yeah, a lot depends on how we take the last few hundred yards. You know, I've seen records lost just by creeping down the platform at 10 miles an hour, which is what you should do.
And they've still got the clear run they need.
At the moment, we've got greens as far as Eglinton Street Junction, just waiting for a couple of trains to get out of the way.
At Glasgow Central, the excitement is building. But the lines are busy and nothing is guaranteed.
It's getting tense. The train is showing right time now again, so it's gone back green. That might just be and then it flashes back to yellow. This roller coaster just doesn't stop, does it?
15 seconds late at Eglinton Street.
Well, folks, we are on the approach into Glasgow Central.
There are pipes on platform 1 to greet the train as it arrives.
15, 14, 13.
And on the train, they're counting down to the last 20 seconds of the old speed record. They've narrowly missed beating the record, but as the train continues coming to a halt, out on the platform, the team don't yet know the outcome.
The record was 2:32 minutes 40 seconds, so we've missed out by 20 seconds. 21 seconds to be precise.
The 1984 speed record still stands, missed today by a matter of seconds.
Disappointment all round.
Did we do it, you know?
But well done, we tried.
Never mind, we tried.
But the bad news hasn't dampened everyone's spirits.
I still think it's been a fantastic day. Everyone's enjoyed themselves, and we tried our best, without a doubt.
It was always going to be tight, but today's run is still a huge achievement for all the teams involved and a great collaborative effort.
The sun's shining, we could have had it all, but not to be today.
Always the next time.
You know, the railway has behaved, the trains behaved, the infrastructure's behaved, and this is a tough, challenging bit of railway. Multi-track, trains everywhere, and threading a way through it. There's a whole host of things that could have gone wrong today, and it's behaved.
Kind of felt that I would feel a little bit disappointed with it, but also really kind of glad I was part of it regardless anyhow. So it was just, again, it was a good team effort to get one together, whether we beat it or not.
7 stops from Central, on the station's suburban East Kilbride line, the ongoing electrification programme includes installing extra tracks. At Thornton Hall Station, this could affect the habitats of bats and other wildlife.
This part of the track is going to be double railed, and then there's going to be another platform on the opposite sides. And the trees were cut down, obviously, so that they pose no danger to the line.
Ecologist Helen is in the area to monitor if the tree felling has affected the local wildlife.
Tonight, we are going to survey this structure behind me for roosting bats. The aim of the survey will be to determine the presence or likely absence of roosting bats. Those structures might have bat roosts, and bat roosts are protected by law, European law and UK law. Making sure that we're providing compensatory habitat for them, so that could be a bat box, for example. I love working as an ecologist for Network Rail, mainly because I get to travel all around Scotland in all sorts of weathers. I get to come across all different sorts of creatures at night, including the elusive beaver and bats, obviously.
It's 9:10, and Helen is heading into the nearby countryside to check if there are any bats using a new bat box the ecology team have installed.
Soprano pipistrelle or a common pipistrelle, they're the most common bat species that we get in this country. And that was the bats that were recorded around this area when we did the surveys. There might not be any bats inside, but fingers crossed. This area was very active with bats, so I'd be surprised if there isn't any bats inside it. Lots of bat food around, midges. Pipistrelles can eat up to 3,000 midges in one night.
If a bat hasn't set up home here, that might mean they've lost bats from the area and could hamper the progress of the electrification project, which is set to be completed by 2024.
We'll check it from the ground and we'll see if there's any little faces looking back at us. This detects the heat signature of objects, whether that be trees, the grounds. It allows us to see in the dark. Yeah, I think we've got bat. The bat that's probably in there is pipistrelle, and it's very, very small. It's about the size of a matchbox, so it's very hard to spot.
Helen is happy to find one pipistrelle is using the box and is heading back to Thornton Hall Station. She's hoping another piece of detection technology will help her to find more roosting bats around the rail bridge.
This is a bat detector, and bats use sonar to navigate the landscape and to hunt for their prey, which are insects. And this allows us to hear it. It puts out a frequency that we can hear. So there seems to be a lot of insects up in the canopy of the trees, so I think what we'll do is take a little walk round to the back of the trees and see what bats we've got flying around.
Helen is following the bat detector's clues up onto the bridge to try and track more bats down.
So that was a soprano pipistrelle pass. I don't know if you heard it. so it's quite a slappy noise. If we're lucky, we might get to hear a feeding buzz. And that just sounds like a raspberry, like blowing raspberries. Here we go. Yay! It's a really important foraging corridor for all wildlife, not just bats. So we can hear it, but we can't see it. This black object coming towards us. Oh, now we've got 3.
After a slow start, Helen's delighted to find there are at least 3 bats in the area.
They're still using the area to forage despite some vegetation being removed. It's really good to see that the bats are really not bothered by it. In fact, it looks like they're kind of flourishing. There's lots of insects on all the wildflowers that have now spurted up where there was a lot of shade before. Yeah, it's a job well done.
Proof that bats are still thriving in the area means the electrification work can continue as planned.
Personally, get a sense of relief whenever I go to a survey like that and I see bats are still using the railway, so they've not adversely been impacted by the work that we do.
Part of the wider sustainability mission is making stations like Central greener and safer places for passengers and staff to pass through.
I lead on the sustainability strategy for Network Rail in Scotland. So we have 10 different priority areas, of which air quality is one of them, and that's what we're focusing on in the station this morning. While we've already taken basic steps such as preventing or minimising trains from idling and promoting ventilation in the station, we're also measuring the pollutants that are in the air, but also tracking how the air moves around the station. So airflow will tell us where the pollutants are flowing. What we want to make sure is that it's not gathering in any one particular area where we're then allowing passengers to wait for trains. So by knowing where the air flows, where the pollutants flow, we can make sure our waiting areas are in those locations, and we can then look at things like increased ventilation in those hotspot areas.
Monitoring the air quality in Central closely over time helps to make sure that it's a healthy environment for everyone who uses the station and can detect any issues with ventilation and air quality before they become a problem. Kira is meeting up with air quality contractor Gary to test how the air changes throughout the station.
So where are we starting? What are we doing?
Well, we're going to go around the station.
Okay.
The data we got from the other week showed that there's a bit of a pattern as you come through the station. So we're going to go back and try and pick that up. So we'll start where the air comes into the station, right down the far end, and then we'll move our way through the platforms and out into the street.
They're heading to the very end of the platforms where trains enter into Central. Gary will be using a device which detects small particles in the air to measure the air quality at 3 locations at the station.
The main one to look for in here is with a PM1 number. So that's the recent emission from a diesel engine. And that's quite a small number at this end of the station. You've got a good breeze blowing through.
Yep. Satisfied that result is low, in order to take the next reading, they're heading further down the platform towards the concourse.
Okay, so we moved maybe 100, 150 metres into the station.
Okay.
And what we're seeing now is that the PM1 values are up around 1.6. They were about 1 at the far end, so that's 50% increase. But the thing to remember with the PM1 from the diesel fume is that this is in our breathing zone.
Yeah.
Most of what came out the trains went up. So if you look up, there's a slight haziness to some of the air up there. That's the pollution from trains that have already left or have just arrived. And then that will slowly mix in, and that shows in these numbers. And then the PM10 number, when it comes around, which is the metric that's used outside, monitoring air quality, 31. So from the 20s into the 30s, yeah?
Those readings are also well within the expected range. But what are the numbers looking like at the Gordon Street entrance?
So PM10 numbers are 36.
Okay.
So we started in the 20s,
yep.
We moved into the 30s, and on this side of the station, we're up to 36. So there's a gradual increase as we're moving through.
Okay.
And the very fine particles they're back down to where they were.
Yeah, okay.
So this end of the station and the far end, exactly the same levels of fine particles.
These numbers aren't alarming in any way, shape or form, are they?
No, and the main message from the work we've done is that it's constantly changing.
Okay.
And that you need to look at the pattern over a period of time to understand what measures you take could make a difference.
So all this data will help us work out what mitigation to put in place and where in the station to get the biggest impact.
That's the idea.
Okay. I think it's all pretty much as I expected. It's useful to understand how the air changes and how the air flows through Central Station, how we prioritise our actions and how we decide what to do next and where to spend our money in improving air quality. All that information really helps guide to make those choices. We want people to use our trains, we want people to feel safe and to enjoy the experience in the station, and I think by breathing cleaner air that really contributes to that.
Today's findings prove that the huge investment in electrifying the rail network is also an investment in Central and the health of all who pass under its roof. But whether diesel or electric, Central's trains keep running, and Baby Jane is always ready to dispatch the next service.
So I'll walk up the middle. That's the best place to stand. Just basically checking the signals are green further up. Then I raise my band. So basically I keep an eye on the platform corridor and then watch that train fully leave the platform. As long as he's got his tail lights on. There you go. Well, I just make it look good. No, there's a lot to it, but as long as you've got your concentration, you're just fine. There you go.
Next time on Inside Central Station.
Disruption in the summer is really difficult with the heat in the station.
The people are frustrated because they don't know if we're going to get on this train. As the man says, we're going to need a bigger boat.